Welcome everybody to this new Q3 release webinar of HelloID. In this webinar we're going to see the new features available, but also I think we will take one big feature of the last couple of months, and I will explain a little bit more about this in this webinar. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I will answer them as soon as possible in this webinar. Also, if I don't answer them in the webinar, I will contact you or I try to contact you privately, but I think I can answer everything in this webinar. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will not miss any webinar or maybe some HelloID documentation videos, or of course the release product videos. So this is a kind of a test because it's a different situation than we had before, because we want to discuss a big topic instead of the features of the last release. So for this release I want to discuss reconciliation with you guys, something we are building for the last couple of months. It's not yet fully released, it's in the pilot phase currently in the governance module. The governance module will be available in 2025, so 1st of 2025, and it's also available with a little bit of discount because we don't have all the full feature set of governance, of course. But if you want to have more information on that, go to your local provider of HelloID, and he can explain about that more. So this is a little bit of a quick sneak preview of the functionality reconciliation, which is in the provisioning module. So it works good with the provisioning module. First off, before we begin, I've put in a poll, and the question here is, why do you want to use reconciliation? And I have three answers. I'll put it in. So hopefully you guys see it. And why do you want to use it? Is it to clean historic accounts and permission, or to force rules to target systems, or to review all other accounts and permissions that are not set by HelloID provisioning? And force rules, I mean the rules that you have defined in HelloID provisioning, of course. So please vote on that. So maybe I can explain a little bit more about the topics you want to use this. Of course, if you have another purpose for this, please put it in the chat so we can discuss it also. But I put these three in the poll. So let's go to the presentation first. Of course, here you can see HelloID. Let me log into and let me explain a little bit more about reconciliation first before we go to the results of the poll. So we have to go to provisioning, and here you see provisioning. And if you have the governance module enabled, you will see under businesses, you will see reconciliation. If you have a training portal or something like that, we can enable it for you. That's no problem. Please contact your local HelloID supplier or your support department or something like that, and we can enable it for your personal portal. Of course, for your customer tenant, you have to wait until 2025 to use the governance module. Reconciliation, you can click on it, and currently I already have a report here, but let's say I don't have anything here, but I can create a new report. This can take a while depending on how large your target system is. In this case, I'm only doing it for one Active Directory system. We only support currently Active Directory systems, so non-PowerShell systems that will come in the future. Now only Active Directories, but you can have multiple systems, of course. But in this case, it's just one Active Directory system that I'm importing. So what this does is it will import all the data from Active Directory, and it will see all the accounts and all the permissions for those accounts. Not depending on anything in HelloID, just everything from Active Directory. And what it does, it will check the differences between our HelloID entitlement state, so which accounts are granted and which permissions are granted, against what is actually in Active Directory in this case. And you will get a report. So as you can see here, I've imported 1100 or 1184 number of accounts, and 201 of them are enabled, and 974 permissions accounts are disabled. Sorry. So that's quite a few disabled accounts, but that's just my situation here currently in Active Directory. No biggie, could also be the case in your situation. And as you can see, you will see a report of all issues. We call those issues, and different issue types. But before we go any further, let me check the results of the poll. If there are some... yeah, so we have 3 votes currently. Most of them are on the review other accounts and permissions, 2 votes, and 1 on the clean historic action and accounts and permissions. And no other, I think, because I don't see any other chat. Good news is that all these trees we want to solve within a reconciliation. So that's good. I will show for each thing, I will show an example in this report and how we can solve these issues. So as I mentioned, you have different issues types. One of them is, as you can see here, is account missing. And also permission missing, you have account unmanaged, permission unmanaged, and so on and so on. If you want to see all of those different issues in your report, you can easily go to filtering. If I click on my filter here, I can say issue, and I can see all the different issue types. Of course, we also have these issues types on our docs, docs.helloid.com, where you can see what issue type is what. But let's start with the account unmanaged, because I think that's your starting point at sometimes. For us, this is the case. So account unmanaged means that we have an account in Active Directory which is not managed by HelloID provisioning. So there is not maybe there's no person for it, or there is no business rules allowed for the person to have that account or something like that. So it could be someone who has worked before in your company and then left the company, but his account is still there. It could be disabled or enabled. That doesn't matter. The account is still there. And that's the first phase. I think the first time you're seeing this report is to clean some historic accounts. You want to clean those historic accounts and permissions and do that as well. So what we want to do is, if I click on an unmanaged account, I can resolve these with different actions. So the first one is pretty easy. If the account is not really needed, I want to clean it up, so I can delete it, of course. So you could take the strategy, okay, I want just to clean up all the accounts that are not used anymore, and then they're gone. So that's pretty easy, right? On the other side, it could also be, and that's the third option, is that this account is still used, but it's not managed by HelloID, so there is no source system for it to manage those accounts. This could be supplier accounts, this could be service accounts, this could be external accounts, something like that. And if you want to manage those, you can do this with exclude issues. And exclusion means is that I will not see this account in this report for a certain amount of period. So here I can say, okay, I want to exclude it, let's say for the next year. And if I exclude this account, I also see this in the exclusion. And here I can see Chef Anima on, I need to check this again on October 2025. So I did it 1 year, right? But of course, you can see this list, so you can also check this list and go to your auditor. Hey, this account is excluded, so you don't see it in the report, and we're going to review it again in October 2025. And I can do this for different types of accounts for different periods. So I think that's really important to know. What I want to do is ask you, let me explain a little bit further on. So another use, like I said, is service accounts. So if I go to report again, let me search for some service accounts. So I will move my issue and I will go to my fields and I will say, okay, the account username. Most of the times the service accounts is something like SVC or servers or something like that inside the name of the account. So for me, this also works. I also see here the permissions that are granted for that particular type of account. But let me first focus on the accounts. I can do that by filtering on the issue and go to account unmanaged. Then I will see only the accounts that are not managed by HelloID. And you will see two different accounts. So in this case, it's SVC SSOM and SV SSRPM, which are two different products. Still running with us, so I don't want to delete them, of course. But in case of a service account, this could be that it should be excluded for a longer of period because we're still using it, and we have a agreement with the supplier that we have a license for the next 3 years. So we're definitely going to use this software application for the next 3 years. So then I can say, okay, I want to exclude the service account and I want to exclude it for the next 3 years. Another thing you can do is if you're not certain that the service account is used, you can also disable the account. And then you can disable the account, and if someone is complaining, you can enable it again, of course. But this way you can disable it and also set an exclusion so you don't see it in report, and after a while it will return and then you can delete it if it's not used anymore and nobody complained about the disabled account after, I don't know, 6 months or something like that, and you can delete it. So it's really flexible. But in this case, I know, okay, the next 3 years we're going to use this application, so I will only want to exclude this application for the next 3 years. Also, which is good to know, is that we also have the option to set, okay, I want to exclude all the unresolved permissions issues for this account. So I filtered on the account, managed account issues, but this account also has 6 different permission issues, which are not managed by HelloID. Of course, this is a service account, so in this case I want to say, okay, I also want to exclude those permissions because the service account needed those permissions in my case. So let's exclude it. And again, with the same as the exclusion that happened with the personal account, I can see here my service account back and also those permissions like administrator and domain admins and things like that. That's a really high permission, so maybe this one I say, does it still need it for the next 3 years? No, I don't think so. So maybe we remove it from the exclusion. And maybe I want to see it back in the next report. Maybe I will determine if domain admins is still needed after 1 month, or maybe I will create a new exclusion for that, something like that. But I want to have a shorter period of management for that particular permission. And I can put it back and exclude it again if I want to for a different period. So with this you can also set different levels of permissions or accounts where you have different exclusion periods. Let me put in another poll, and with this one I want to say what do you think, guys? What is the most popular excluded period for your accounts? And I know this could be different for service accounts and maybe external accounts. But maybe in general, what do you think? What is the option that is most used? And maybe there's also an option that you want to have. So maybe we have 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and 3 years. But maybe there's also an option that you say, okay, I want to have an exclusion for longer than 3 years. Or, yeah, 2 months is also great to have as an option. 1 month, we don't supply 1 month because we have a different trick. Because if you say in your action resolve issue, like this button, it will be resolved for this report, and the reports are scheduled for each month. I'll show that a little bit later. But here you can also do 1 month instead of the 3 months for the exclude issue, which is the minimum. So how does it work? Pretty easy, because if I go to the configuration, you can just schedule a monthly report. You will get an email when the report is created with a little summary where you can see, okay, this many accounts are managed for this system, and this many managed permissions are there, and all different type of issues. And of course you have to include your system. In this case, mine is already added, but you have to put it in, and there are some configurations for the system, but I will talk about this a little bit later. So what is the purpose of this report? The purpose of this report is, like I mentioned, the first step is cleaning the history, and the second step is managing those unmanaged accounts that are not managed by HelloID. Like I just said, my service account now I've managing it, because with the exclusions, I'm saying, okay, on October 2027, I have to review the service account again, and then again I can delete it. And I can make this period shorter, I can make this period longer, determine on the priority of those accounts or permissions. Can I only do this for accounts? No, it's also for permissions. I only show this for accounts, of course, but if I remove the issue and let's remove the account username, I can also see, in this case, here I have a group, HelloID job medewerker. If I, let's say, copy this text for this permission, I can also search on all those permissions. So let me filter on it, and I go to permission display name, and let's say contains, and I will search on this permissions, and I can see who got all those permissions, and those could be of 2 types in this case. And I can say, okay, I want to exclude this issue or resolve this issue or remove the permission, of course. In this current version, you have to do this per 1 record. In the November release, we will have a bulk action where you can say, okay, for every permission I see here, I want to have an exclude issue for 3 months. And that makes this filtering really important, because with this you can filter on, like I said, different permissions, different issues, account names, but also all properties that are currently mapped in the target system. How does this work? Like I said before, you can just add a new filter here, and as you can see here, I have a lot of Active Directory attributes that I can use here. So I can search on employee ID, I can search on description, I can use on department, and even here, if I have the equals, I can select administration as example, and I will see all the issues in that particular department. In the October release, we will also support here multiple value. So you will have a kind of an OR condition where you can use administration and administratie or something like that, or maybe finance, or at different departments. And you can also say not administration. So you will have all the other departments, but not administration as an example. The different type of actions do also have different type of issues have different type of actions. So as you can see, a permission unmanaged has a remove permission instead of the remove or delete account, of course. The ones that are on everything are resolved issue, and exclude issues are only on the unmanaged issue types. So we have different types, like I said. So I was mainly focusing on the unmanaged, but there was a third option in the target, and that was the force rules. And this is a different type of issue where we can say, okay, let's search on it, issue type, and that's account missing. Account missing means that the state in HelloID says, okay, that person has an account entitlement. We think it's already granted, and there is an entitlement inside the system, but we cannot find it anymore in Active Directory, so in the target application. In this case, it is missing, and I can click on it and I can just say create the account again. Or I can resolve it and it will be back the next report, of course. Of course, also if the account is not needed, so this person doesn't need an account, I can go to rules and in this case there are no relevant rules, but it could be that there are rules and I can go to the rules and switch it up. I can create the account. Or I can exclude the person. In this case, I don't want to hit the create because there's also a different option you can do, and it's go to configuration and click on the target system, and you can automatically force HelloID when a report is created to create the accounts, enable the accounts, and add these permissions. So that means is if I enable this, the state that HelloID that you can configure in the business rules, it is forced on each reconciliation. So if an account does not exist in Active Directory, we will create a new one. If there is a permission missing that it's coming from the business rules and you removed it through a service desk tool or something like that, or maybe manual in Active Directory, we will add it again. So with this option, you have the option to say, okay, I want to force the state of HelloID, the rules, I want to force them always when reconciliation is running, or I want to choose that I can choose between doing this manually, so I can approve this yes or no, or maybe exclude it until the permission is granted again, or something like that. So you have a lot of control with this. Let me check the results of the votes for the exclusion period. There are no votes. Okay, so let me end this poll. Maybe that means that you don't have a favorite period for exclusion of those accounts or the permission or something like that. That's no biggie. Another thing of the report, like I mentioned, you can filter on the attributes of an account. And those attributes are configured based on the mapping of the target system. And what I like to do, and I think it's a practical use, if you say, okay, I want to check out all the accounts that are managed in this case, in this report that are in a certain organizational unit. Now, if I currently look here and I go to my filter and I search for organizational unit, nothing. Maybe canonical name, I want to use that one, it's also not there. Okay, no problem, but I still want that. Okay, we can change that, so we can go to the target system. We can go to our Active Directory on-premise system and then go to fields. And here I can add a field. And let's type in the canonical name. Oh, it's a text field, and I say the mapping is none because I don't want to set it. I just want to read it, right? And I will do this for all actions, and it's saved. So now here is a canonical name which is not set for a person, but it's only retrieved from a person. Now I will go to reconciliation and I will create a report. Of course, I need to do a new report because that requires to have a new import with the new field, of course. And now if I go to my filtering and I go to a new filter and I select here canonical name. Where is it? Why isn't it working? Let me check if I saved it correctly. Oh, sorry, I was searching wrong. Let me do it again. Canonical name. Yeah, sorry, I was searching wrong. And now I can search here. So let's say I want to search on this value, but I want to have that value what contains, and I want to have it disabled. And then I will see everything which is in the canonical name disabled. I can also select, of course, a canonical name, and also I also use the distinguished name as an attribute or organization unit or something like that, but I think the canonical name is easier to read, so therefore I want to use that one. But with this, you can easily select a section of your Active Directory and review this. And again, if there is bulk actions, you can do this for all the accounts that are in that particular organizational unit. So this is really helpful. Then I would to place in the last pool, and if everything is working here and you can delete the accounts and remove historical data, or you can exclude the issues, I would like to ask you, what is your report approach? What is your first step if you get this report? What is your first goal or first target? What you want to do? So let me put in a poll again. So in this poll, we have a couple of options. So the first one is close the issues as soon as possible. So I want to remove the issues, and I want to have an empty report as soon as possible. The other one is to close accounts issues first, or maybe close the permission issues first, or close a few issues each month. And therefore it takes a longer time, of course, to have an empty report. But how do you approach this one? Before I will talk you about this, we have a couple of other options, and it's really nice if we click on a record. And you have an account here, and it says unmanaged. We can also see the account details. So all the fields that are configured in the mapping, you can also see them here in your account details. So hopefully this will also help you check out what you want to do with the account before you remove it or something like that. So you can see all the properties that are assigned to that account. And in this case, I generated some accounts with HelloID provisioning and just manage them. But it could also be your service account as an example, or other external accounts or supplier accounts, things like that. Also, if you do an action, it will remove from this report. It will not really remove, because if you really want to see the record again, you can remove the default filter where it says resolution, because here you will only see the unresolved. But let's say with this permission account missing, I want to do create an account, or let's resolve the issue. No, let's resolve the issue, and it will be back in the next month. So you see that the issue is resolved, so the record is gone. Now it's permission missing, but not the account missing. But if I go to manually resolve in this case, I still see the record here. So I can still see that issue has been resolved manually. I can still choose a different one, so I can still create an account if I want. And also there's logging available. So if you delete an account, you also see, of course, in the logging, but also in the audit logging, that the account is deleted. I can show you that. So let me say unresolved, and let me add a new filter where the issue is account unmanaged. And let's remove the account of Amy James. So let's say to actions. Here you also see that the different kind of actions have different colors. If the action is triggered on the target system, it's a red button, or the icon is red. If it's something inside HelloID, so it changes some state, or it's excluded, it's a blue one. So the blue ones are more safe, and the red ones, you really take action on the target system. So in this case, you really are going to delete an account on the target system. If I press this, of course there is a warning, because we want to make really sure that you want to delete this account. This is important. So in this case, I want to really delete the account. And if I delete account, the action will be executed immediately. We can see that again. So if we go into the action initiated by user in this case, and I go to logging, you'll see the action has been resolved by deleting the account. Account of J has been deleted successfully. Now, if I go to my target system and I go to Active Directory and I go to audit logs, you will also see account Emma James has been deleted successfully. Delete account. There's no person, because we cannot relate it to a person. So this field is empty. We also have a logging available of the actions the user has taken. So if we go to our reports and I go to provisioning and I go to user actions reconciliation, you can see here that the account is deleted, and this is my username, so this person did it. The issue was account unmanaged, and this was the account username. So if you do an exclude or anything, we will, you can also see here the exclusion of the service SSRPM account. We will record it in the audit logging. So you will see who's doing your solving inside the reconciliation report. So you have also audit logging about that. Let's go back to provisioning and reconciliation. So again, the exclusion will give you a list of when something is coming back. So this record will automatically disappear on February 2025. So if it is running in March, it will be gone. And you can, of course, exclude it again if you still want it, but this is the review or recertification step that you have to take. So let me check on the votes if there is any. How do you see the approach? Let me check it out. Okay, so there was one vote, and the vote was on the close account first. I think that's a good approach to start with the accounts first, but I also want to mention that it's pretty important, because the report can be pretty big, especially I think on the first run, where you have a lot of historical things or issues, that you do not everything at the same time. And why not? Because if you do that and you exclude everything for the next 3 months or something like that, you have to do 3 months later a review of everything again. So if you from the start solve a few issues each month, it is a little bit more spread over the year. But still, I will recommend to start with the accounts, of course, because permissions are a lot more, and maybe you can exclude something based on the account, all the permissions of that account. But be careful also with that, because it could be that one of the permissions you should not exclude, and then you have to go back to the exclusions and remove it. It's all possible, of course, but it's a little bit more difficult to track. Of course, another way is say a particular permission for all the accounts in a particular OU, and then exclude those or something like that if we have the bulk actions available, which will be coming in November. And then it's a lot easier to do really hefty sets with this, but still I would recommend do a couple of issues each month until this report is empty, because that is the stage you want to reach. To have this report empty, because this is running each month, and if there is a change in your target system, we will detect it and we will put in a new issue. So if it's empty, it's good, and then maybe a couple of new ones will come into the report, some new issues, and you can solve that. And then it's pretty easy to do this as an exercise each month. And of course, if you don't need any actions to be taken, you will a summary will be sent, so you can easily see are there new issues in this report. So if it's empty, of course you don't have to do anything, which is good, because then you are, I think, in control. So this report will really help you to get in control of all your accounts and all your permissions of a target system. It could be a lot of work, but we're trying to make this as best as possible to do this in the UI, and to give you a lot of feedback and information to make the right choices. And of course, if you're in doubt, please exclude it, because then you can review it in another period. So please be aware that if you delete account or disable or remove a permission, it's permanently on your target system. So be careful with that. And that's also the reason why we make those actions red and not blue. Another thing, of course, you can also download the report. So you can export it to a CSV, and maybe you want to do some digging yourself inside the CSV, or I don't know if the filters are not good enough in this case, or you want to do something else. You can use Excel and see what the common attributes are there, and just build a filter accordingly how you want to filter the accounts or the permissions. Of course, you can also filter on system. In my case, it hasn't have any effect because I just have one system, but if you have multiple systems, you can filter on the system as well. So this report is also, if we're going to add multiple systems, like supporting reconciliation for PowerShell, this report will contain all your systems. So this can be a really large set of issues that needs to be resolved. But hopefully we will give you the tools to manage those, and to make this as quick and as best to manage as possible. Let me check if there are any questions. I didn't see any questions. So I think everything is clear, hopefully. If there are any questions still, you can put them in the chat. I will try to answer them later on. Of course, if you have any feedback for some new features or something like that, you can put it on the feedback.helloid.com. Or if you want to see what's upcoming, you can go to roadmap.helloid.com, where you can see in the next couple of 3 months which features will be there in the software. And of course, if you want to see the bigger picture, you can go to the milestones, where you can see the bigger picture of features that are hopefully coming, which we do not guarantee. That's the one only with the plant, but the rest is not guaranteed, but that's our vision on the different features. Then I would like to thank you. So thank you for watching and listening. Hopefully this will give you more insights about reconciliation. If you like the new setup of this webinar, where we have more focus on a general topic, which we released in a couple of months ago, or maybe as a full feature set, please like our video, of course, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you will not miss a webinar or HelloID documentation or product release videos, or any other videos that we supply, of course, with HelloID. So thanks for watching, and till the next time.